How did your high school crush turn out as an adult? He had a roller coaster of a life. I admire him more than ever. And more than most people I know. But can't wrap my head around why I ever found him physically attractive. Maybe it was always just his heart. By age 25. He had a PhD. A wife. And was a captain in the Navy. By 30. He had 2 PhDs. A small business where he made a metric ass ton of money. And his wife was pregnant. By 31 he was diagnosed with stage 4 skin cancer that swiftly spread to his lymph nodes, bones, esophagus, and a few other places. He was told he had minimal chance of making it 5 more years. Even with the best health insurance money can buy. It still basically wiped him out. 7 years later. He's living a comfortable but not extravagant life as a civilian contractor for the Navy. Same wife and 2 happy healthy kids. And spends most of his free time advocating for better public health care. She committed suicide. Found out later she had a crush on me too. Life sometimes. I remember walking up to her and asking if we could talk in private. And she said you can say what you need in front of everyone. Her group of friends were all around. So I asked if she wanted to go on a date. She burst out laughing and said yeah. No. Was rough. Man. Looked her up last year and she's a cage fighter now. I guess she's always been a pro at hurting people for others' entertainment. Began acting. It's weird. Every so often I'll see a commercial or something and be like oh. Hey. I know them. My crush is an incredibly sweet person. So I'm glad. I had 2 unrealized crushes in high school. One is a teacher and musician. She is married and has either 1 or 2 kids. We've kept in loose contact via social media and ran into each other at a night party shortly before she got married. I was introduced to her now husband as favorite ex ever. He seemed like a decent dude and I'm happy for her. I believe the other became a US attorney. I have not heard from her since Google Plus almost became a social media thing. I imagine she's still very productive and would be disappointed in my life choices. He's an attractive gay man. My only GF in high school was my crush. Her mom banned her from dating me after about a year because my GF admitted to her mom that we were fooling around. This was about 20 years ago. She's still living with her mom. No kids. And as far as I know never again dated seriously after her mom broke us up. Still has the same job from high school too. It's like her mom went way into protective overdrive and my former GF never grew up. Mine was my best friend. She turned out to be a pedophile. She always liked younger guys. Like when she was 17 she had a 13-year-old boyfriend which was weird. But we were kids and I didn't think about it much. Turns out she continued to like younger teens as she grew into her 20s and 30s. Found her on Tinder. She said I was hot. Pointed out that I was that loser she used to know in high school. Had a big laugh. Been a little over a year. Now we send each other memes and hang out occasionally when the pandemic isn't being a bitch. So you're saying there's a chance? I met her in 1987. We got married 5 years ago. We used to go to the same punk shows. That's where met. You fell in love with a girl at the rock show? She's still hot. Successful and wealthy entrepreneur. And married someone with the same first name as me and who quit his job to brew beer. I crushed on her for a bit. Didn't think she was interested so I dated others. Then come to find out she crushed on me senior year. I was too dumb and blind. We connected freshman year of college. She wrote me letters. And by the time I wised up she had moved on. No one to blame but myself. Dead by 32. Making me wonder what I ever saw in them. My English teacher still looks fine as. His friend murdered him over a girl. I was a freshman and had a crush on a senior. To add to it, she was a cheerleader and her brother played QB for the football team and got a college scholarship. Close bracket. She showed up at a football game a couple of years later with a baby in tow. She's married now and back in her hometown. That's about all I know. They both ended up as great guys. One has a huge family and is a minister. The other only has one child and is a college professor. Both married nice people and are happy. They were really good guys in high school and ended up being really good adults. I've got both of them on Facebook and we keep in touch peripherally as we stayed friends over the years. I don't know about you guys, but I had way too many crushes in high school. An insanely talented molecular biology researcher at Boston. And she's still insanely attractive. Edit. It looks like a lot of people feel like they know this same person. Became a professional cheerleader. Died of breast cancer at 34. Googling names from high school is crazy. Edit to add. Thanks for all the support, Reddit family. About to be my fiance registered sign if all goes well. My first high school crush who sat next to me in freshman year English was a really cute punk rock girl, and she's gone on to become an incredibly hot fitness model. He's doing good for himself. He's grown emotionally. Has a seemingly healthy relationship with a longtime girlfriend. I hope that if someone ever had a crush on me, this would be their description of my current status. Hahaha. Haha. My husband. Our first marriages didn't work out and we reconnected after our divorces. If only I would have confessed I had a crush on him in high school. Might have saved myself a lot of trouble. Lol. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Everyone. Still hot AF. I briefly worked with mine and didn't realize it was her until I left for another job. She looked almost unrecognizable. But it was 15 years after I last saw her. She's married with a couple of kids now. So pretty standard life, I guess. My friend's high school crush was Tom Holland. Wow, I can't believe you're friends with Mary Jane. Ended up committing suicide a few years after high school. She was a teacher and got caught having an affair with a female student. Edit. Reddit is weird AF. Some interesting comments here. I never made a move in high school. About 7 years after graduating. I saw her on social media and said what the hell and asked her out. We've been dating for about 2 years and I'm about to pop the big question. Overdosed and died last year. I got to see him before he was taken off life support with a really good mutual friend we shared, organ donor too. It was surreal seeing him dwarfed by all these machines. He had one of the largest hearts I've ever come across. Hot douche who doesn't really do much except go to the gym. To be fair. That's how he was in high school. I just liked it back then. She ended up getting knocked up by a freshman shortly after we graduated. A college freshman or a high school freshman? D. Back when I was younger and crushing hard, I got on AOL Instant Messenger and had gotten my crush's screen name from a friend. I worked up the nerve to start a conversation with him, and soon after some awkward small talk he sent me a message in Comic Sans. Black background. Red lettering. And in French. I then went to Google for translation and found out he had just called me a pig. In French. Being a seemingly awkward and chubby teenager. I was literally crushed. The heartbreak was only made worse by remembering that a few weeks prior I had selected to take French class the next year and couldn't change it. Years later, now that I've blossomed, he follows me on every social media platform. Has reached out a couple of times to try and flirt, hang out. Hard pass. I believe he's moved away and is a teacher now. She passed away our senior year. 6 months after she agreed to marry me after we graduated. Still a 10 for looks. I'm sure she kept on as the amazing, kind person she is. She moved to another country. Speaks multiple languages and is more successful than I imagined. She seems happy, but we haven't talked since the time I told her how I felt about her about 20 years ago. She ended up dating and marrying the guy who bullied me all through middle school and high school. They seem like a functional family from what I see on social media. You were 2 murders away from being Snape. Going to an all-boys school sucks for having realistic crushes. However, ran into one of the teachers years later and she still looked bellissima. Went on to be a teenage model for hair products. Graduated from Yale. Toured Europe. Opened her own successful ceramics company that is sold worldwide and is often written up in magazines. Makes me feel like every time I think of her. You made me check and she is actually a very successful artist and an art teacher at a renowned university in France. She even got decorated for her work. Chevalier des Arts et des Lettres. Edit. Thanks for the attention. I'm not really willing to give much more details. My high school ex randomly sent me a text years after we split up that went, "I know you don't like metal, but I thought you'd like this," and a link to a clarinet cover of a metal song I played in HS. Little did he know that I hated playing clarinet and I was now a total metalhead. There was a girl I really admired for a while. She didn't really give me the time of day after freshman year though. She was co-valedictorian and hugged me as I crossed the stage at graduation. And no one else got one. I'm still really confused about that 6 years later. She went on to med school and is either married or at least engaged to a guy she met there. Overall she's doing really well. And I'm happy for her. Edit. Thanks for all the warm wishes and thoughts. Guys. I'm just happy for her. And glad she's doing well. She has a dog and I don't. I had several. One of them is still a close friend. And he became a primary care doctor. He also officiated my wedding. I have no idea what happened to another one. We didn't really have overlapping friend groups and she doesn't do social media. One of them is a math professor now. So that's pretty cool. My biggest crush in high school was my longtime neighbor. But it also fizzled out pretty quickly after we went to homecoming together. We're still good friends. And our families still keep in touch. He's also the guy who introduced me to my husband. I had 3. 1 from the first 2 years and 2 from the last 2. The first one is now F2M trans. Who walked to Colorado to join a cult commune. He is now in Arizona recording rap albums. The second girl moved to Florida and lives in a swamp. She periodically hits me up to tell me she misses me. How dumb I was that I didn't follow through. That we should get married. The third was a missionary. She wasn't really into it once she grew up. Came back home and I introduced her to one of my closest friends. They've been married for 15 years. 0/3. Why no marry Shrek? Just checking in to confirm that I was no one's high school crush. Carry on. Hedge fund manager with a trophy wife. She turned out great. She married me. We actually met in kindergarten. We reconnected through Facebook, though I can't stand FB anymore, when in our late 40s and now she is my wife. She's still beautiful. One I don't keep track of at all. I'm not sure what she's up to. The other I married. She turned out awesome. Turns out I was attracted to losers and burnouts lol. She was aware then. Over 30 years ago. But it was unrequited. I've been in casual contact through Facebook for the past several years. And once before that my wife, at the time, and I had her and her husband over for dinner. From what I can tell, she's grown into a person I probably would have been happy with. It's nice to see my high school perspective got a few things right. I think we'd be good friends if we lived closer. She appears to be living a good life with her husband and family. With my second wife, I'm happier than I could have ever imagined. Life worked out well. Pretty good. Seems to have her life together. Although she had a few setbacks. She's gone back to uni since job prospects in her field kinda sucked. But seems to be really enjoying it. Semicolon. She's dating me though. So clearly her judgment sucks. Still cute as heck. One of the kindest and most sensitive people I know. And still one of my best friends 15 years later. He's also recently divorced. His wife was gay but needed time and support to come to terms with it. And now he and I are slowly testing the waters. What started as a crush has matured into a deep and rich friendship. And as for however it may unfold, I am so grateful to have that relationship in my life. One of them is homeless and a druggie. It's very sad. The other one is famous in his home country, is a best-selling author, and is regularly on TV. Don't have a crush on him anymore. But I'm glad we are still friends. And I'm happy for how well he's done. I guess they balance one another out. It was one of those days where they just suddenly pop into your head and you decide to try and look them up on Facebook. Found him. He ended up being a pilot. Did him and we became Facebook friends. He is still hot. Got a part-time scholarship to study engineer and is dating a Miss Spain runner-up. One is still active duty in the military and she has a very successful career as an officer. I hope she continues to be. The other is successful in the arts and I hope she continues to be that as well. Both are married to others who treat them well. I'm happy that they are both happy. My life is still going good here, so I have no hard feelings. She worked with the Obama administration. I forgot in what capacity. Got married to some politician's son. Don't remember, don't care to look up. Close bracket. She is happy and that's the only thing that matters. Oh, she was also our school's valedictorian. She was so busy with her job she could not organize a high school reunion, so that's a plus. I wasn't head over heels for her. I admired her but I knew I wasn't for her. Then there's another crush of mine. We ran into each other years after graduation at grocery store. After talking I asked her out to dinner at my house. I pull out all the stops, I buy rainbow trout fillets and make all the fixings. 6:30 rolls around, I open the door and who the hell is this man behind her? This is my fiance registered sign. She neglected to tell me about me. Turns out they wanted to sell me on some MLM thing. She tried to cross the threshold. I put my arm out and asked them politely to leave. I turned away from the door and had my saddest meal I ever ate. Edit. Very well. He joined the military and served for a number of years, was in after Vietnam and out before the Gulf War. So I'm not sure if he actually saw much active duty, and then settled in Korea where he trained in Taekwondo and did a lot of professional fighting. And won a lot of awards. Attained the rank of Grandmaster and returned to the US and opened a very successful school that specializes in TKD and Hapkido. Has opened additional locations. And is currently looking to open one in our old hometown. I imagine that will happen post-COVID. For a second I thought you were talking about Cobra Kai lol. I had a few in high school. One ended up moving away after sophomore year and no one knew why. She reached out to me when I had a mental breakdown online and said that she could understand what I was going through. Some ed up happened to her, though she never said what specifically. I didn't ask further because it wasn't my business to pry. I'm not sure how she is now. Another got super hot after high school and she did a degree in science. Again not sure where she is now, but I think she's doing alright. And the third works at a bank. We ended on bad terms, partially my fault. I found out she was making fun of me behind my back and had done so for months beforehand, so I sent her an angry message. Nah dude, the girl making fun of you. I myself would drop them if they didn't drop me first. Found out she was fat and unattractive. Then I realized I was too. I ship it. She died in a car crash at age 22. Like the majority of my classmates. On drugs in and out of trouble. So few have actually made a good life for themselves. Great from the looks of it. I have good taste. Handsome and nice. Harvard. Degrees in writing and medicine. Became a leading surgeon in a major city. Extremely proud of her. Always had her on a pedestal. The guy I crushed on for 2.5 years did not end up turning out great. I'm still friends with his younger sister. So I know that he recently acquired his third DUI and his second divorce. He's currently living in his friend's basement and occasionally works for his friend's moving company as a mover. But only when he feels like it. He spends all his money on booze and owes the two moms of his 5 kids tons of child support. But man, was he hot in high school. My second crush in high school is the only reason I got over my first crush. He's currently doing great. Mostly because he gets to be married to me for going on 20 years. D. He's always posting average photos on Facebook with douchey artsy captions that make me cringe with his name water stamped on. Gay. But he seems successful and happy, so that's good. You guys still in contact with your high school crush? Ah. My high school sweetheart is now dating my mom, so not really sure as they still won't talk to me. Turns out he's gay. And got fired from a teaching job for having inappropriate relationships with his male students. Edit. I should clarify that to my knowledge he was not eyeing the students. But he was caught sending lewd text messages and whatnot. When we dated he was a promising boxer. Now he sells Thai timeshares in Vegas. Saw her at our 20-year HS reunion. She looked super hot. I went up to her and asked how she was doing. He said, "Great. Ever since I have been in therapy, things have been much better. I mean, I'm happy for her mental health. But I found it quite odd for her to go on and on about her issues right off the bat to someone she hadn't seen in 20 years. I'm like this. Super open about my mental health. I think that being honest about my truth helps me be more authentic with others and with myself. Still, I apologize if it makes you feel weird. We're just proud of ourselves and want to share it." She has aged beautifully. Has 3 kids and appears perfectly content. Good for her. Honestly. My crush turned into a self-righteous prick who still lives with his parents. He became livid when he found out my husband and I had a baby. I apparently was supposed to be his backup plan if he couldn't find anyone better. Leathery. Turns out a decade or so working on Hawaii beaches makes you look about 10 years older than you are. Wear sunblock. Handsome as ever. But struggling with mental illness more than I would have expected. Single and seems lonely. Think we could have been good friends throughout our lives. Nice to be in contact with him on FB. He turned out to be the biggest dork. Plays D&D and all sorts of fantasy video games. He also turned out to be my husband. So he's my dork. She got murdered by an angry ex. She is bisexual and married a woman. She is a speech therapist now. Still really good looking. Still a nice person. I am happy her life turned out well. She is married. Has 4 kids. Looks good for her age. Oh. She also thinks Biden stole the election from Trump. Believes right-wing media and thinks the COVID vaccine is going to result in you getting the mark of the beast. Thank goodness we were never more than friends. Old guy here. I swear to God there needs to be a major study as to why high school crushes stay with people. Sometimes for life. WTF. Let it go. Move on. Forgive and forget. I have a 50th anniversary high school reunion next summer 2022. I am going just to see what happens. I'll let you know in 4 years. First one has been married almost 25 years to a beautiful woman and has 2 beautiful children. But he's a serial cheater and I dodged a bullet. Second one owns the farm next to me. He's been married 15 years with a daughter but he too constantly cheats on his wife. So again. Dodge a bullet. Thank God I saw the pattern and broke the cycle. I've been married 18 years to a good man and the only cheating we do is financial. Still not cool. I know. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. A millionaire. What are the odds that 2 redditors in this comment section are talking about each other without knowing? Religious nut job baby factory. I just checked. She seems to have turned out okay. Right now. Hold on. Trying to get a good angle. Looks like she's making a sandwich in her kitchen. Damn curtains are in the way. Still very hot and she is now an ER doctor. Young me picked well. A cow rapist. Engineer at SpaceX. Happily married with 2 dogs. Happy for her. Haven't seen her for about 15 years after school. Then met her again. Turned out pretty good. She's sleeping next to me. We're engaged and she's 37 weeks pregnant with our son. Life. Found a way. My mom actually got her nails done by her and talked about me, and she mentioned she had a crush on me in high school too, but we never thought to talk to each other. I called her and 6 years later she's pregnant with our first daughter. Best life ever. One ended up the pastor of a church with what seem to be some views I don't entirely agree with. I haven't kept touch or kept track, so I'm not sure how far she takes those views. Her life just generally took a track mine wouldn't have meshed with. The other. I dated in high school and multiple times after high school right up until I was almost 30. She's married with a kid now. She grew to be strong, smart, and creative. Really. We were dynamite together when things were good. But I don't know how much of the woman I loved remains now. I have no regrets about how it all turned out between us. I just sincerely hope her husband never has to deal with the emotional manipulation or outright physical abuse she used to throw my way when things got bad between us.